Well, thanks, Nzinga. We've been waiting for a press conference that was set to take place at 9 o'clock this morning. Now, it's just after 1 o'clock and that still hasn't taken place. And no surprises there, much to the frustration and ire of many journalists and media houses. This has really been the trajectory of the conference since the very first day. You'd remember that on Friday when the conference kick-started, the program said that there'd be prayer and the singing of the national anthem at 8:30. I think proceedings only really kicked off at around 2 o'clock on Friday, and that's just been the way that things have been going for the conference. We're expecting that at 2 o'clock, according to the program that we've been given, that the president of the party, President Cyril Ramaphosa, is set to address delegates as well. So we're going to wait and see if they're able to stick to the schedule. But let's actually just talk a little bit about what is next for the party. And for that, we have been joined over the past 5 days by Mr. Sandile Swana, who is a political analyst and a governance expert. He joins us once again in the box. Swana, good afternoon to you once again.
Good afternoon, Naledi.
I think you've had a lot of time to take everything in. Today is an interesting day because it seems the mood is quite different from what it's been for the past 4 days. Lots of tension. And it seems that delegates are a lot more relaxed today. You've got Fikile Mbalula, the SG, who keeps calling them to come into plenary, and there's this, there's this sort of lackluster sort of movement to get them back into plenary and into seeing what the outcomes of some of the commissions that have been held. I don't know if that's a concern for you, because one would hope that the outcomes of the commission would be just as important as appointing the leadership, because that would give direction to the party on where they go from a policy point of view.
Yes, the question you are raising speaks again to the renewal of the party. Things like punctuality, good order, accuracy, which we have not seen at this conference. Documents that were inaccurate were issued. Punctuality, appointments have been missed. Mbalula said that by 3 p.m. everybody will be going home today. That's what he said in the briefing that we attended last night. And I doubt that that is going to happen. So this process of renewal does not show you an ANC that shows you that there is revolutionary morality, revolutionary agency, revolutionary that. They are not a marching army. They are not re-energized. So it is worrying what is going on. You call it lackluster, lackadaisical, very casual. It's people on the Durban beach here.
Let's talk about what needs to be done now, right? The president said to speak at 2 o'clock. Whether that's going to happen is another thing altogether. But what do you want to hear from him, and particularly around the role that he plays moving forward? Some analysts have said that he needs to now focus on stabilizing the country. The economy certainly in a lot of trouble. We've got load shedding up to stage 6, frustrated businesses on the ground, frustrated young people unable to find work. That's where he needs to set his focus, and that the party will be handled by the SGs. What do you make of that?
We can take about this particular president. He's president of the ANC, but he's also president of the country. But let's look at it from another perspective. This fellow, Cyril Ramaphosa, has been at it since the 1970s. He's been trying to develop a vision for this country since the 1970s. My assumption when he took over power is that by that time he would have discovered, if you started working on this in the 1970s, you would have discovered by now what needs to be done for your people. He has not lived in another country, he's lived here all this time. So I would have wanted from the start, and I still want that today, a program that says load shedding will end 30th of June, or a certain amount of load shedding, or load shedding will be limited to only stage 2 by 30th of June, whatever the case is. This woolly presentation that he often comes up with. Right now we're here, he has already spoken, by the way, at this conference. We still don't know when load shedding is going to finish. We don't know the quantity. When he started his presidency, he came up with his numbers. I think it was 175,000 of people who would get jobs and so on. My calculation said we needed to create 1.5 million new jobs every year, given that we have about 600,000 new entrants into the job market. You have about 12 million people already unemployed, and that backlog has grown from 1994. So I would have wanted to say every 3 years I'm going to reduce the backlog of unemployment by a particular quantity and go ahead and do that.
Right. And that hasn't happened, and one wonders if we're going to be actually seeing that from the president perhaps moving forward. I had a discussion earlier with our economics editor who made an interesting point, essentially saying that the problem with the ANC and how it deals with economic issues in the country is that it simply doesn't have the agility to deal with the challenges as they come at us hot and fast. For instance, you do have the lobby groups and the private sector that come out when we have a challenge and immediately have a policy decision or a lobby for a direction to be taken, whether it be the power crisis. But it seems that the ANC are really not having the agility to come together, make those decisions, go into government and implement them immediately.
This issue of agility, we need to look at it critically. There has been a discussion by Thabo Mbeki, unfortunately, that says I don't know whether it's 800 pages, but it's quite a large document which came from business about the economic recovery, and a small pamphlet-like document from the government talking to the same subject. Now, the difference between these two documents, and Thabo Mbeki emphasizes this difference, is that the other one is a detailed roadmap from business, a detailed roadmap of how you can actually turn the economy around. The other one is more of a sloganeering document from the ANC itself. Now, when you talk about agility, it's the question of whether useful input that comes to the ANC, whether the ANC, including President Ramaphosa, has got the capacity to receive it and process it.
Right.
So if I give you something that sits outside of you because you have no capacity to absorb it, it sits outside of you, then we can talk about agility all we like. That is not what is going to make you agile, because you have not absorbed it. So the intellectual capacity of the present government, the present top six of the ANC, is a problem. They have resolutions of the previous conference. Like now, we're going to have these resolutions here. They are turned into a manifesto. They are elected into government. The people who are elected into government, like President Ramaphosa, form committees and subcommittees to see whether this thing should be implemented, and it never gets done.
You've described quite a picture there, Mr. Swana. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Political analyst and governance expert there, Mr. Sandile Swana. Let's head over now to our reporter, Samkele Maseko, on the ground. Samkele, good afternoon.
The ANC has elected its new president. The province of KwaZulu-Natal has walked away without anyone in the top six. I'm going to bring in now the provincial chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Siboniso Duma. Mr. Duma, just the essence of KwaZulu-Natal. Once again, like 2015, like 2017 rather, walking away with nothing in the officials.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we are all aware that the ANC is a unitary organization. It is always critical that we must maintain the modalities and those optics. If an organization that believes in democracy, it means that the result should be accommodated, should be understood in a context that philosophically we always check in this epoch who is fit to lead the organization. We had our issues, like for instance, that why don't we implement all the resolution of the 54 conference of the ANC to the T, the issue of compensation of our people in terms of employment structure, the issue of ownership pattern, the issue of the creation of a state bank, the issue of land. I think we have not done a proper transformational analysis when it comes to those things. So we're here as a province that people from Gonongoma, people from Goshobashobane, people from Mhlanga, people from Twalume, their lives, some of them have not changed, but you'll find that in the urban stream, there has been some changes. So we're here, we're there just to advance all those matters.
Mr. Duma, when you look at some of the policy proposals, what are some of the key policy proposals that the province of KwaZulu-Natal came with? South Africans are unemployed. There's the issue of the basic income grant on the table. There's the issue of the minimum wage, which has already been tabled. Which are some of the key policy proposals that the province of KwaZulu-Natal came with and was advocating for at the various commissions?
I think you are aware as well on the issue of BE. We are saying that the issue of Section 217 of the Constitution must be implemented to the T, especially checking the Principal Act, that why don't you ensure the issue of BE at this point in time is what must advance our people. I think somehow we have not gone for a strategy of ensuring that blacks in particular in the construction sector are prioritized, in the retail industry are prioritized, in agricultural sector, because we are at the same phase now of ensuring that let us own the means of production as opposed to us just working. We cannot just be consuming everything produced by Caucasians. Now is the time that the province of KwaZulu-Natal outlook must also change. We've got two harbors in the province of KwaZulu, the biggest in the south, in the African continent. So it is critical that whatever that in terms of import-export trade, we are also the center. We are taken into cognizance. That's where we are as the province, and we are currently saying that all the mineral deposit, the resources in terms of mining charter, we must be prioritized as the province. Let us ensure that government, national treasurer in particular, implement those so that our people are also participating in the issue of mining sector as a sector.
On the other issues pertaining to land expropriation without compensation, it was not fully implemented by the government, by the governing party. When you look at Parliament, the amendment of Section 25 was rejected by other political parties, especially when your leadership changed it from land expropriation with nil compensation, which other parties like Patriotic Alliance, like ATM, like the EFF had an issue with it. How are you going about the fine-tuning of that resolution in this conference?
One thing for sure that I think you'll see in the new NEC, hopefully, is that it will be a lot of generational mix. You'll see a lot of former leaders of the ANC Youth League. It means that they are going to garner and ensure that we advance that, because I think what was presented in Parliament has been watered down a bit. We want expropriation of land without compensation, so as to accommodate the process of the Constitution. I think at some point in time, if we still had an option of two-thirds majority, I think probably now is the time where our Constitution must take the nexus of accommodating and embracing that element, because since '94 we have just seen that what has become a fundamental tool was a political arena, political outlook and political power that we achieved and attained. But when it comes to economic outlook, we have not achieved so much. So our people still lives in squalors. Our people are still gobed, hungry. The issue of being holistic and of being involved in the entire value chain, it's something that we've been advancing, which is critical. And this 55th conference is going to attain the process of ensuring, let us go back, review, and National Treasury Party must also take that into cognizance when we appropriate our budget for our people.
How did you move about in the commissions on the issue of the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank? It was a policy resolution here in 2017, never fully implemented by government. Minister of Finance at some point, Nhlanhla, removed it from Parliament where it was going to be debated because it could have an issue on the impact of the South Africa's currency and the rand.
In fact, what is critical as well is the issue of prudential authority. Let's take, for instance, the issue of Itala in KwaZulu-Natal. We've been having a temporary license for the last 16 years. If we are serious about transformational agenda, it means that let us go and zoom into those details. I think now is the right time that when we talk about the nationalization of Reserve Bank, we are saying that we cannot just have a reserve bank that is not controlled by the state, that is at the helm of private sector, because private sector, their fixation is the maximization of profit, and ours is to service our people. So I think we are at the right time that we hope by the closing of the conference we would have achieved. I don't think that we have achieved almost all the things because of the circumstances of the issue of the poor administration that took place. There is a need for this conference as well to pronounce itself that there is a need for special NGC. We are just going to zoom clinical on the issue of policy. We are going to zoom and development of new ideologues within the ANC. There's been an issue of deficiencies in leadership in the society at large. The ANC becomes the center because we lead the society. We must produce those ideological, dialectical people who will understand the issue of understanding the material condition and change for the betterment of our people.
What report back did the leadership give on the issue of the failure to form a state bank, which was a resolution of conference in 2017? It's also a resolution of the Gauteng Provincial Conference, where their MEC of Finance, Jacob Mamabulu, has been tasked with forming a provincial state bank similar to that of Ithala Bank in KwaZulu-Natal.
I think it's critical. The issue for instance, the issue of KwaZulu-Natal, that population, that is why of late you've been talking about the issue of creating of State World Bank, where you are saying that the state must be at the center state of driving the infrastructure process. I think Gauteng has been in the province of KwaZulu-Natal just to tap and check our case studies. We share notes. I think now is the right time that almost that must no longer be piloted. It just have to be implemented. All the provinces must create their state bank, which is going to embrace an element of the stockfell within the communities, which is going to embrace the issue of cooperatives, because the government as well has a tool of implementing the strategy of enhancement through cooperatives. And cooperatives in the country like Italy, they are the one who creates more jobs. So the jobs will be created at the cooperatives. Then let us utilize our bank just to entice and just to scope the ownership pattern through our banking sector.
Just in isiZulu mnumzana uDuma solushayele nje ngamafuphi njengesifundazwe sakwaZulu Natal niphumekele nqunquthela yakazwelonke ANC ningabutholanga umuntu kusikhungo esiphezulu phecelezi top 7 ANC nizizwa kanjani njengoba nizobuyela ekhaya namhlanje?
Sicabanga ukuthi i-ANC iyona ngaso sonke isikhathi ke uma ngabe khona ke into eyinkomfa ekusuke kufanele kuthiwa iyona egcine iphumelele. Kuphumele i-ANC njengamanje. I-contest ifikile yadlula. Sicabanga ukuthi ubuholi bezokwenza sure ukuthi buyadila nendaba ye-factionalism. Ubuholi buzodila nendaba yokuhlukana kukhona ku-organization. Kodwa ubuholi umsebenzi omkhulu ukushintsha umnotho ubuyisele ezandleni zabantu. Umnotho uphume kongxiwankulu. Ongxiwankulu abanalo uthando oluphelele ukuthi abantu bakithi bathuthuke. So kufanele sishintshe i-system ezokwenza ukuthi abantu bakithi bakwazi ukuthi balele emakhaya bedlile, bakwazi ukuziqashela nale system yezemfundo ezokwazi ukuthi bafundise abantu ukuthi ibona bakwazi ukubazakhela umnotho. Uhamba uye kwezemfundo, uhamba uye kwezolimo, uhamba uye intweni nakhona ke eziphethe namakhono athuthukile ekuthiwa i-ICT. Sekufanele sisifundise ke ingane zethu into ye-coding ukuze sikwazi ukuzimela, ukuze sikwazi ukuthuthukisa umphakathi wethu.
Sabonga kakhulu. Thank you very much, Mr. Siboniso Duma, who is the provincial chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, saying they need clear policy proposals to come out of this conference, such as the implementation of the state bank and also the issue of land expropriation without compensation that was watered down by the governing party, and also they need the Reserve Bank to be nationalized in Zinga.